I found her personal diary in Google Docs, and it wasn't just therapy notes, but vows to another life. It started last Tuesday when I was scrolling through my email and saw a share notification from Emily's account. Access granted, private thoughts. My stomach clenched. We had been drifting for months, the late-night fatigue, the hushed phone calls, our therapist's reminders that communication is key. Emily claimed she needed these sessions to save us. I told myself it was simply vulnerability. But curiosity conquered me. I clicked the link. The first entries were clinical, dated, like an outsider's record of a relationship on the brink. She wrote about our fights. He's distant, avoids intimacy. And her therapy homework, breathing exercises before arguments. I recognized her handwriting in digital form. Neat, clipped sentences, bullet points. Then the tone shifted. On March 15th, she titled the entry Session 8, Crossing Thresholds. That was the night she skipped our dinner reservation at the Olive Branch downtown. She called in sick. I believed her. But here, she described meeting someone, Jason, at a coffee shop near her office. She wrote, "He listens. He doesn't judge my panic attacks." My pulse hit the roof. Every sick day, every late shift she never mentioned, was window dressing for clandestine meetings. I scrolled faster, fingers trembling. Drafts labeled Vows appeared alongside backups. In one, she typed, "I swear to embrace this new freedom, to feel every heartbeat outside our marriage." Another draft, "Promise to stay until he loves me enough to leave." My vision blurred. These were promises to Jason, not to me. I saw timestamps, 2:03 a.m., 4:17 a.m., hours when she claimed she was asleep next to me. Guilt stabbed me. I had been lying beside a stranger's plans. At first I felt rage. My hands shook so badly I almost deleted everything. But then sorrow washed over me. The realization that she had cataloged her betrayal more meticulously than our wedding vows. I found a bullet list. Reasons to continue therapy. Rebuild trust, clarify feelings, decide future. It was too late. She had already decided. Yet the entries read like a roadmap she wanted me to follow, to understand her departure as intentional, almost righteous. I closed the doc and stared at my reflection in the dark screen. A man betrayed, clutching the proof of his own oblivion. I opened Session 12, Confessions, and discovered paragraphs that made my blood run cold. Emily described the first time Jason kissed her on his apartment balcony. He tasted like cider and forgiveness. She wrote about kneeling beside her bed afterward, praying for clarity, as if church-bound rituals could absolve her before she even crossed the line. I remember our Sunday mornings together, arms linked in pews at St. Mark's, whispering the Lord's Prayer. Now I see she used those same prayers to plead for strength to pursue someone else. Her words grew more urgent in Session 13, Echoes of Desire. She cataloged every stolen moment. A coffee date at dawn, fingertips brushing over a Bible under the conference table, a confession booth in reverse where she admitted sins to Jason instead of the pastor. "I told him I loved him," she typed, "and all the reasons I can't stay with Michael." She named my flaws, my workaholic ways, my stubborn pride, and praised Jason for hearing the broken parts of me without flinching. It felt like she was trying to justify a sermon of betrayal. Late-night drafts revealed a detailed plan of exit: sell our shared condo, divide our savings, announce mutual separation to friends. She even composed a quick statement for my parents: he was loving but unavailable. Every line hit like a blow. I thought of the promises I whispered at our wedding altar. "I will cherish you always," and how she had rehearsed new vows in secret digital ink. Anger flooded me, but so did a profound sorrow. Here was the woman I vowed to trust, mapping her path to freedom with more devotion than she ever showed our marriage. I closed the tab and sat in darkness. The glow of my screen illuminating tears I refused to shed when she lay beside me. I realized that reading her drafts was not just proof of infidelity, but an unfiltered portrait of her soul's departure. I knew what I had to do next: confront her with every line, every timestamp. Yet as dawn approached, I hesitated, uncertain if unveiling the truth would save me or destroy us both. When morning light spilled across the bedroom, I felt the weight of her deserted side. My phone buzzed. Another notification from Google Docs. I hadn't deleted Emily's diary. I was haunted by it. I replayed every word she wrote, every promise she forged in secrecy. Slowly I tiptoed to her study, where she usually sipped tea and drafted session notes. Her laptop lay open, as if waiting for me. I sank into the chair and opened the latest draft. Session 15, Truth Revealed. She had rehearsed our confrontation in neat paragraphs. "I will admit I never loved you like I should," she'd written. "I will tell him about Jason before he discovers it himself." Beneath those lines, bullet points outlined her talking points. Apologize for coldness, frame her affair as self-discovery, and propose amicable separation. My throat tightened. She had planned how to break me. I closed the document and backed away, heart pounding. I found her in the kitchen, sliding a mug onto the counter. She faced me, eyes red-rimmed, guilt flickering there but tempered by resolve. I stood silent for a long moment, then said, "I read it all." Her face fell. She didn't panic. Instead, she nodded, as though confirming what she most feared. "You saw the vows," she whispered. I'm sorry." Her apology hung in the air like smoke, present but insubstantial. I asked, "Why the script? Why the bullet points?" She pressed her palms together as if praying. "I needed to be honest, fully honest, with you, with me." She admitted she'd been lost, that Jason offered her a version of herself she thought she'd forgotten. And she regretted hurting me, but not the affair itself. Anger burned through me. I lashed out, citing every draft I'd read. She listened, head bowed, tears falling silently. Then she chose her words from that rehearsed list. "I want an amicable separation." The phrase tasted bitter in my mouth. I realized she'd already crossed our private Rubicon long ago. Every journal entry, every late-night meeting, a step further from us. As she walked away, I grasped her hand. The contact was electric, a final echo of what we once shared. "What now?" I asked. She looked back, eyes full of sorrow and determination. "We figure out how to live apart," she said. And just like that, our lives diverged. Her toward the unknown freedom she'd chronicled in Google Docs, me toward the emptiness she left behind. I spent the next week packing our life into cardboard boxes, each item a relic of us. The vase she picked up in Vermont, the framed photo of our first camping trip, the coffee mugs with our initials. With every object I slipped into a box, I felt our history closing like a final chapter. I moved into a small apartment downtown. Bare walls, a single mattress, and a Google Home device that felt like an echo of her voice, reminding me of the nights she stood there alone, rehearsing apologies into its microphone. One rainy evening, exhaustion drove me back to our old condo. I unlocked the door and flicked on the lights, the scent of her shampoo still lingering in the air. I headed straight for her desk, drawn by something I hadn't finished. A hidden folder in her Google Drive labeled Memories. My heart thudded as I double-clicked it. Inside were photos. Emily's reflection in a cafe window, Jason's hand brushing hers across a table, a screenshot of their text exchange. "Tonight can't come soon enough." Beneath the images lay audio files. I hesitated, fingers trembling, then pressed play. Her voice filled the room. "I can't sleep until I'm sure you understand me, Jason." The tremor in her words was raw, no polished bullet points, just naked confession. I realized these weren't rehearsals for me. They were candid moments meant only for him. Each file was dated before our therapy sessions, evidence that she had been building this new life long before she told me she needed space to find herself. I felt anger coil inside me like a serpent, but there was something else. Compassion for the woman I still loved, the one who had believed she had to break away to save herself. I closed the browser, tears blurring my vision. I reached for my phone and called Jason's number, one I'd memorized from her drafts. His voicemail picked up, polite and unfamiliar. I left a terse message. "This is Michael. I have things I need to discuss." The next afternoon, I found myself at his favorite coffee shop, the one Emily mentioned in her diary. Jason sat at a corner table, laptop open, oblivious to me until I slid into the seat opposite him. His eyes widened, guilt and surprise mingled there. I didn't have to say much, the folder's name in my hand said it all. He swallowed and nodded, knowing. We talked, first about Emily, then about betrayal, and finally about the wreckage we both found ourselves in. Walking back to my apartment, rain splattering on the pavement, I realized this wasn't the end of the story. It was a new beginning, one where I had to decide if I would let her words define me, or if I would write my own next chapter. Sunday morning sunlight filtered through the stained glass windows as I slipped into St. Mark's alone for the first time since Emily left. The pews smelled of aged wood and candle wax, a familiar comfort that suddenly felt foreign without her beside me. Father Thomas began his sermon on forgiveness, how holding on to bitterness wounded our own souls more than the ones who hurt us. His words echoed Emily's hidden prayers, but now they resonated in my chest as both balm and challenge. Could I truly let go of the ache she'd carved into my heart? After Mass, the congregation gathered for coffee in the parish hall. Faces I knew greeted me with sympathetic smiles, and I felt the stir of community, of genuine concern. Mary from the choir touched my arm and whispered, "We're here for you, Michael." I nodded, tears threatening behind my eyes. The church had been our refuge. Now it was mine alone, a place to confront the void she'd left. Later that afternoon, I returned to the condo one last time, determined to clear out the memories folder entirely. But when I opened my email, there it was, a message from Emily, timestamped just minutes ago. No drafts, just a raw .mp3 recording. My thumb hesitated over the play button. Finally, I pressed it. Her voice trembled. "Michael, I know I shattered us. I never meant to hurt you like this. I was terrified of being stuck, of losing myself, and I ran toward Jason thinking he could save me. But faith isn't found in someone else's arms. It's a journey you walk alone, with God's grace. I'm sorry." Her words settled over me like a prayer I didn't ask for. I sat on the couch, letting the apology wash through my grief and anger. There was no neat resolution, no bullet point promise this time, just a wounded voice seeking absolution. I closed my eyes and prayed, for healing, for clarity, for the strength to choose my own path forward, unbound by her mistakes. That evening, I texted Emily, "Thank you for reaching out. I need time, but I heard you." And I hit send. Though the future remained unwritten, I felt a flicker of hope. A spark born not from betrayal, but from the simple act of owning our truths and letting faith guide what comes next. Months passed, and each morning I woke up without Emily, still felt like an ache, but the emptiness gradually softened. I started waking before dawn to sit on the balcony of my new apartment, coffee in hand, breath fogging in the cool air, just as I had once imagined she might do with Jason. Instead of searching for her approval, I found a battered leather journal and began writing my own reflections. Moments of regret, moments of gratitude, the raw edges of grief laid bare in ink. I titled the first page, "Grounding," a reminder to root myself in reality, not in what-ifs. I sought counsel again, this time from Father Thomas, one-on-one. We met in his tiny office, lit by a single lamp and a shelf of worn hymnals. I confessed the guilt I still carried, feeling complicit because I hadn't seen her pain sooner. And he told me that forgiveness was not a single act, but a journey. "Forgiveness isn't erasing the harm," he said, "it's releasing the hold it has on your soul." Those words felt like keys unlocking a prison I didn't know I'd built. I left determined to volunteer at the parish outreach program, working with refugees and families in crisis. Pouring my energy into others gave me perspective. Hurt was universal, but healing was communal. One chilly Saturday, I met Sarah, a warm, quick-smiled volunteer coordinating clothing donations. She asked about my story, and rather than hiding in platitudes, I shared a trimmed-down version. Betrayal, faith, picking up the pieces. She listened without pity, nodding as she loaded blankets into a van. Later, over tea at the church hall, she laughed at my rusty Polish and told me stories of her grandmother's prayers during wartime. In her resilience, I saw a mirror of my own need to move forward. Yet at night, I still felt two realities colliding. The memory of Emily's voice on that MP3 recording, and the gentle cadence of Sarah's laughter in the hall. I wondered whether opening my heart again meant I was forgetting Emily, or simply honoring the man she helped show me I could become. One Sunday after Mass, I slipped into the empty pew where she once sat. My phone buzzed, another Google Doc notification. My thumb hovered. For a moment I wanted to open it, to relive the past one more time. Then I locked my screen and tucked my phone into my pocket. I stood and walked toward the light streaming through the stained glass, breathing deeply. The future still felt unwritten, but for the first time, it was my story to write. One day, one choice, one prayer at a time.